This isn't a countdown of watches. This is a countdown of obsessions. Because these aren't timepieces in the ordinary sense, they are empires, shrunk down to the size of a wrist. Some of them are worth more than private islands. Some are tied to kings, queens, and billionaires who changed history. And one in the crown jewel is so rare, so impossibly valuable, it might never be seen in public again. Stay with me, because what you're about to witness are not just the 10 most expensive watches in the world, they are stories carved in diamonds, legends ticking with secrets, and prices that defy belief. Welcome to Luxe Quest, the channel that doesn't just show you luxury, it lets you feel it. Here, we go beyond the velvet ropes, behind the locked vaults, into the world where rarity isn't measured in numbers, but in whispers. Every watch you're about to discover is more than steel, gold, or jewels. Each one is a piece of history. A duel between rival billionaires in an auction hall, a secret heirloom passed down through royalty, a feat of human artistry that took decades to create. These watches are not bought, they are earned, fought over, even worshipped. And tonight, you'll hear their stories. If this world of hidden treasures excites you, if you live for the stories behind rare objects that only the wealthiest on earth can touch, then make sure you subscribe to Luxe Quest. Because every week, we take you deeper into the secrets of luxury, from the world's most expensive cars, to the rarest wines, to jewels that once sat on the crowns of kings. Subscribe now, and step into the world most people never see. Our journey begins not at the dizzying heights, but with a quiet giant. Number 10 isn't drenched in headlines or flaunted on red carpets. No, it's something subtler. A creation that whispers its value in the language only true collectors understand. Its name. The Patek Philippe stainless steel Ref 1518. On the surface, it looks almost simple. No blinding rainbow of diamonds, no outrageous case size. In fact, it wears a modest 35 mm smaller than many modern wristwatches today. But don't be fooled. This is not simplicity. This is restraint. The Ref 1518 was unveiled in 1941, the world's first perpetual calendar chronograph wristwatch ever produced in series. Think about that for a moment. When the world was still at war, when much of Europe was burning, a few master watchmakers in Geneva were quietly creating what would become one of the most important timepieces in history. Only 281 examples were ever made. Most in yellow or rose gold. But just four, were crafted in stainless steel. At the time, steel was considered ordinary, even unworthy of such a complication. But today? That choice makes it priceless. Because rarity in the world of watches isn't just about diamonds or sparkle. It's about being the first. Being different, being untouchable. When one of those four steel 1518s came up for auction in Geneva, the room was packed. Collectors flew in from across the globe, whispers of its arrival spreading like wildfire. The bidding was feverish, paddles shooting up like sparks. The hammer finally fell at over $11 million, making it, at that moment, the most expensive wristwatch ever sold at auction. The crowd erupted. Some called it madness. Others called it destiny. What makes the Ref 1518 legendary isn't just the money. It's what it represents. In an age of turmoil, it was a quiet triumph of human craftsmanship. A steel soldier standing against time, a contradiction that became an icon. To wear it isn't to flaunt wealth, it's to command respect from those who know. And that's only number 10. If a watch so understated, so deceptively simple, can command over $11 million, what waits higher up this list will leave you speechless. Because as we ascend, the materials grow rarer, the legends grow darker, and the stories? They'll take us into the very heart of obsession itself. Next, we meet a watch that isn't just about time, but about rivalry, secrets, and the fine line between genius and madness. We've seen how a steel soldier from Geneva could command $11 million. But as we climb this list, the stakes rise, the legends grow darker, and the obsession becomes almost unbelievable. So let's continue our journey into the vault, with number 9. Number 9, Patek Philippe Henry Graves Supercomplication. At number 9, we don't find a wristwatch at all. We find a pocket-sized universe, the Patek Philippe Henry Graves Supercomplication. This story begins in the roaring 1920s, when two titans of American wealth locked horns in a silent rivalry. On one side, James Ward Packard, the automobile king. On the other, Henry Graves Jr., a powerful New York banker. Both men shared an obsession, owning the most complicated watch on earth. Graves commissioned Patek Philippe to do the impossible. For 8 long years, master craftsmen worked in secrecy. No computers. No shortcuts. Just human brilliance and magnifying glasses. In 1933, the masterpiece was revealed. 24 complications inside a pocket watch of solid 18-karat gold. It charted the stars above New York, tracked sunrise and sunset, chimed Westminster like Big Ben, and measured time in ways no one had imagined before. For Graves, it wasn't just a watch, it was victory. He had outdone Packard, securing his name in the history of horology forever. Decades later, the watch resurfaced at auction. In 1999, it shattered records at $11 million. But in 2014, when it appeared again, collectors held their breath. The hammer finally fell at $24 million. Gasps filled the room. The Supercomplication was no longer just a triumph of craftsmanship, it had become the most expensive pocket watch in the world. To this day, it stands as a symbol of human obsession. 2 men, 2 egos, and 1 golden universe that proved, sometimes rivalry creates legends. But not all legendary watches were born out of rivalry between titans of wealth. Some became priceless because of a single man, a man whose name carried as much power in Hollywood as it did in the world of racing. And that brings us to number 8. Number 8, Paul Newman's Rolex Daytona. At number 8, we find a watch that became the very definition of cool, Paul Newman's Rolex Daytona. When Rolex first released the Daytona in the 1960s, it wasn't a success. In fact, for years, it sat gathering dust in shop windows. But then came Paul Newman, actor, philanthropist, and race car driver. His wife, Joanne Woodward, gifted him a Daytona engraved with the words "Drive carefully, me." From that moment, the watch was inseparable from the man. Newman wore it at races, in photo shoots, even on the streets of Hollywood. Slowly, the model became linked to his name. Collectors began to whisper about the Paul Newman Daytona, a version of the watch with a special exotic dial. What was once overlooked became one of the most desired Rolexes on the planet. And then came 2017. Paul Newman's own Daytona, the very one he wore for decades, surfaced at auction. The room was electric, history waiting to be written. Bidding started at $1 million. In just minutes, it skyrocketed past 10. When the hammer finally struck, the price was $17.8 million. A Rolex that once sold for a few hundred now stood as one of the most expensive wristwatches ever sold. But here's the truth, it wasn't just steel and mechanics that collectors were buying. It was Newman's story, the glamour, the racing, the effortless style. The Daytona had become more than a watch. It was Hollywood immortality, strapped to the wrist. And that was only number 8. From a golden universe crafted for a banker's pride, to a racing legend's Rolex that redefined cool, these watches show us that value is never just about materials. It's about story, legacy, and the people who dared to wear them. But the journey is only getting started. Because next, we'll step into a world where subtlety is abandoned entirely, and excess takes center stage. Number 7 isn't just a timepiece, it's a diamond-encrusted declaration of power, designed to blind the world. We've seen legends born of rivalry, and Hollywood icons turned into horological treasures. But as we climb higher, subtlety begins to vanish. The next chapter in our journey isn't about quiet respect. It's about spectacle. Watches that don't just tell time, they scream power. Welcome to number 7. Number 7, Jacob & Company. Billionaire watch. At number 7, the name alone says it all, the Billionaire watch. Created by Jacob & Company, this isn't a timepiece for those who hide their wealth. This is a diamond fortress for the wrist. Its case and bracelet are set with 260 carats of emerald-cut diamonds, each stone placed by hand, each one flawless. When light strikes it, the effect is blinding, like wearing a chandelier of frozen fire. Beneath the diamonds lies a skeletonized tourbillon movement, visible through the crystal, reminding us that yes, even amid all this excess, watchmaking still breathes at its core. But here's what makes it unforgettable. This watch doesn't aim for subtle beauty. It was designed for those who want the world to know, instantly, that they have arrived. It is a declaration, louder than words, bolder than any speech. When it debuted, the Billionaire carried a price tag of $18 million. For most, that number is unthinkable. But in certain circles, where superyachts are parked beside private jets, it is exactly the kind of statement money was meant to buy. Worn by champions like Floyd Mayweather, the Billionaire watch is more than diamonds. It's an exclamation point, a glittering reminder that sometimes, luxury is meant to dazzle, not whisper. But as breathtaking as diamonds are, they cannot match the pure artistry of Complication. Because while the Billionaire watch blinds with brilliance, number 6 stuns with mastery. A creation so complex, so rare, that when it appeared at auction, it rewrote history. Number 6, Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime Ref 6300 010. At number 6, we encounter the Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime Ref 6300 010. On the surface, it's elegant, even understated, a large, double-faced wristwatch crafted in stainless steel. But hidden within are 20 complications, including 5 different chiming modes. Among them, a Grande and Petite sonnerie, a minute repeater, and the most poetic of all, an acoustic alarm that strikes with the actual time. It is a symphony of horology. Over 100,000 hours went into designing and crafting the Grandmaster chime. Every gear, every spring, every chime a note in an orchestra of precision. But what truly sets this piece apart is its singularity. Stainless steel is rarely used for Patek Philippe's most prestigious watches. And this model? Only one exists. It was created for the company's 175th anniversary, a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. When it went to auction in Geneva in 2019, the world's eyes turned to that hall. Collectors knew it would fetch millions. But no one predicted the final number. The bidding soared past 20, past 25, past 30, until the gavel fell at $31 million. Gasps. Applause. Shock. In that instant, the Grandmaster chime became the most expensive wristwatch ever sold at auction. Not a jewel-encrusted statement, but a triumph of pure watchmaking genius. It proved that in the end, diamonds may dazzle, but craftsmanship reigns supreme. And that brings us to the halfway point of our journey. We've seen diamonds worth empires, and complications so rare they defied belief. But as we climb higher, the boundary between jewelry and horology begins to blur. Because the next watches on our list aren't just instruments of time, they're glittering legends, creations that challenge even the imagination. Number 5 is so dazzling, it makes diamonds look alive. And number 4? A piece so unique, it feels less like a watch, and more like a crown jewel. Stay with me. The spectacle has only just begun. We've crossed the halfway mark. From diamond fortresses to mechanical symphonies, we've seen how far watchmaking can stretch. But as we enter the top 5, the air grows thinner, the prices higher, and the creations, almost surreal. These are not watches you simply wear. They are treasures so rare, they seem destined for thrones. Let's begin with number 5. Number 5, Chopard 201 carat watch. At number 5, we find one of the most extravagant pieces of jewelry ever transformed into a watch, the Chopard 201 carat. The name itself tells you the story. 201 carats of diamonds, a kaleidoscope of color and brilliance. At its heart lie 3 colossal diamonds, a 15-carat pink heart-shaped diamond, a 12-carat blue heart-shaped diamond, and an 11-carat white heart-shaped diamond. Surrounding them, a sea of smaller stones in yellow, pink, and white, arranged in a dazzling display of symmetry and fire. But Chopard didn't stop at spectacle. The watch has a hidden surprise. With the press of a spring mechanism, the 3 massive heart-shaped diamonds open like petals, revealing the delicate dial beneath. It's not just jewelry. It's theater. When unveiled, the Chopard 201 carat was valued at $25 million. To many, it looked more like a royal crown than a wristwatch. But in the world of ultimate luxury, that's the point. This is not about practicality. It's about fantasy. A fantasy only a handful of people on Earth could ever hope to own. If the Chopard dazzles like a jewel box brought to life, the next watch on our list is something far more refined. Number 4 is not about overwhelming you with size or color. It's about elegance, artistry, and history. A creation so delicate, it once graced the wrist of a queen. Number 4, Jaeger-LeCoultre Joaillerie 101 Manchette. At number 4 stands the Jaeger-LeCoultre Joaillerie 101 Manchette. Unlike the flamboyant display of Chopard, this piece is quiet poetry. A bracelet watch, crafted in white gold, paved with hundreds of diamonds, its design is fluid, almost like silk frozen into light. But the true marvel lies hidden within, the Caliber 101 movement. Introduced in 1929, it remains the smallest mechanical movement ever created. Imagine a full-fledged mechanical watch, beating with precision, yet small enough to hide inside a jewel the size of a fingernail. Fewer than 100 have ever been produced, each painstakingly assembled under a microscope by master watchmakers. The Joaillerie 101 Manchette isn't just rare because of its mechanics. It carries with it a royal connection. In 1953, Queen Elizabeth II wore a Jaeger-LeCoultre Caliber 101 watch on her coronation day, a discreet sparkle of horological genius hidden among diamonds. Decades later, the Manchette edition elevated this legacy into an art form, valued at over $26 million. This isn't just jewelry. It's heritage. A whisper of timeless elegance that connects the world of watchmaking with the grace of royalty. And so, with number 4, we leave behind crowns of diamonds and movements smaller than the eye can see. Ahead, the stakes rise even higher. Because the top 3 are not just expensive, they are mythic. Watches tied to queens, collectors, and billionaires who would stop at nothing to possess them. Before we reveal them, take a moment. Which do you think will claim the number 1 spot? Or, more importantly, which one would you dare to wear? Drop your guess in the comments below, because the next chapter will test your imagination. We've reached the summit. The final 3. Watches so rare, so impossibly valuable, that they exist in a world of their own. These aren't just timepieces, they are legends. Each one carrying a story of power, secrecy, and obsession. Let's open the vault. Number 3, Breguet Grande Complication Marie-Antoinette. First, we step back into the 18th century, into the glittering court of Versailles. Number 3, the Breguet Grande Complication Marie-Antoinette. This is no ordinary watch. It is a love letter in gold, sapphire, and gears, commissioned, according to rumor, by a secret admirer of the doomed queen herself, Marie-Antoinette. The order was simple and impossible: create a watch that contains every known complication of the time, no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes. It took 40 years. By the time it was completed in 1827, Marie-Antoinette had been executed. The queen never saw it. But what was delivered was staggering. A mechanical symphony housed in a transparent rock crystal case, showcasing the heartbeat of its complications: perpetual calendar, minute repeater, power reserve, chronograph. Everything the watchmakers of that era could dream of, contained in one masterpiece. And then, it vanished. Stolen in 1983, the watch disappeared for decades, adding to its mystique. When it resurfaced, its legend was greater than ever. Today, this relic of love, loss, and obsession is valued at around $30 million. Not just a watch, but a ghost of history, forever tied to a queen who never wore it. Number 2, Graff Diamonds, the Fascination. If Breguet was history, then number 2 is pure spectacle. The Fascination, by Graff Diamonds. This is not just a watch, it's a shapeshifter. A $40 million creation, encrusted with 152.96 carats of white diamonds. But the brilliance doesn't end there. At its center lies a 38-carat, pear-shaped diamond, which can be detached and worn as a ring. Think about that. A watch that transforms, its beating heart removable, as if saying, luxury should never be confined to one form. The Fascination is both a timepiece and a jewel beyond imagination. For Graff, a house synonymous with the rarest stones on earth, this was more than design. It was a statement that diamonds could bend to artistry, that time could be framed in fire. Only a handful of collectors could ever dream of possessing it. For everyone else, it exists like a mirage, dazzling, unattainable, almost unreal. Number 1 Graff Diamonds Hallucination. And now, number 1. The most expensive watch in the world. A piece so audacious, its very existence feels like a dream. The Graff Diamonds Hallucination. $55 million. That is the price of this fantasy, and it is unlike anything else on earth. The hallucination isn't about subtlety. It is a riot of rare, colored diamonds. 110 carats in total, in hues of blue, pink, yellow, orange, and green, set into a platinum bracelet. Each stone hand-picked, each one cut to perfection, woven together into a mosaic of color so dazzling it overwhelms the senses. When Graff unveiled it at Baselworld in 2014, jaws didn't just drop, they stayed on the floor. Because the hallucination was more than a watch. It was a declaration. That luxury has no limits. That art can be worn. That time itself can be dressed in rainbows. Some call it excessive. Others call it genius. But everyone agrees, it is unforgettable. The hallucination is not a watch you check the time on. It is a vision, a hallucination, as its name suggests, of what happens when imagination and limitless wealth collide. And so it sits, unmatched, unrivaled. A $55 million dream on the wrist. 10 watches, 10 legends. From secret gifts for queens to kaleidoscopes of diamonds, we've journeyed through the heights of human craftsmanship and extravagance. Which one amazed you the most? Was it the lost treasure of Marie-Antoinette? The transformable brilliance of the Fascination? Or the rainbow impossibility of the hallucination? Tell us in the comments, we want to know. If this world of ultimate luxury left you inspired, share this video, hit like, and subscribe to Luxe Quest. Because next time, we take you into the skies where luxury has wings. The world's most outrageous private jets, revealed. Until then, remember, luxury is not about need. It's about the stories we choose to carry. And these are stories written in time.